Hello and welcome to Meditations for Mortals. I am Lindsay Milner. Meditations for Mortals is Oliver Burkeman's volume, a 4-week guide to doing what counts. And in it he suggests that we take one day at a time and work through the principles within the book, giving ourselves that day to reflect on the contents, the principles of that day. We are on day 19, which is called A Good Time or A Good Story, on the upsides of unpredictability. And this principle really is about, in my mind, it takes us back to that we're sitting on a kayak, not a super yacht. We're not fully in control of our lives. Life, veers us this way and that way, and it's as if we're bouncing around in a kayak. And he makes the point in this particular chapter that almost makes it sound as if it's an unfortunate thing, something that we just have to learn to deal with. And whilst we do have to learn to deal with it, he also points out that sometimes this can be a really good thing. Things that we didn't expect to happen, that unpredictability, can have a lot of upsides. They can have a lot of benefits to us. And whilst I don't believe in fate and I don't believe in that whole everything happens for a reason, I think sometimes we do cling to that in a way of dealing with difficulties. But at the same time, Burkeman's point in today's chapter is that sometimes, that unpredictability can be fun. Things can happen that we didn't expect to happen, but they can be really, really enjoyable. And he goes back to an old saying that everything that happens is either a good time or a good story. If it turns out not to be a good time, then at least you've got an anecdote that you can tell later. And he gives an example of somebody who went out for a family picnic, and as they laid everything out and got all the food out and everything, suddenly the heavens opened. But they decided that, we're here now, we're sitting out on the picnic blanket with all the food here, so we're just going to eat the soggy blanket sandwiches even whilst we're getting rained on. And this also kind of reminds me of a holiday that I had with my son when he was about 11 or 12 years old. And he wanted to go hiking, and this is not really my thing. I kind of like walking, but I'm not really an outdoorsy, hiking on map reading and that kind of thing. It was a little bit beyond me, and we got lost a few times. And we ended up, we went across a field and we went the wrong way, and there were cows in the field, and the cows started to follow us, and we both started to panic about this, and we managed to get out of the field and across the cattle grid so that the cows couldn't actually follow us. But then there was a car coming along, and we thought it was going to be the farmer coming to tell us off. And then we found a hotel. We were kind of in the middle of the Welsh countryside, but we did find a hotel. But is it a hotel or is it somebody's house? It was really hard to tell. There was no sign saying Druidston Hotel. But we went inside. The door was open, so we went inside, and yes, it was the hotel. But I couldn't escape the feeling that it was a little bit like, we were not supposed to be there, and I expected somebody to pop up from behind the bar and ask us what did we think we were doing there. Anyway, somebody did appear in the bar, and they served us a drink and sandwich. It was fine. And then when we tried to find our way back, we ended up in another field, and there didn't seem to be a way out of the field. We'd managed to sort of go through a few fences, but this particular one, we couldn't climb over it because it was a bit too high, and I'm 5 foot nothing. My son was 11 or 12, so he wasn't any taller than that either. And we ended up, me, an overweight, middle-aged woman, crawling on my belly, combat style, underneath a barbed wire fence to get out and get back onto the Pembrokeshire coastal path. And this story is it has become sort of apocryphal, really, that it's something that, I've given it as a prepared speech, I've won comedy contests with it. So, on the day, I won't say I had a terrible time, but it was challenging. It is not how I would have chosen to spend the day. But that unpredictability, those things that happen, they did make for a good comedy story in the end. So I get what he's saying here, that, things happen. He talks about some philosopher who says that we need to have semi-control over things that are happening in our lives. And I guess that's a good point, that, we do try to control things, but we have to accept that sometimes we can't. But Burkeman's point really is that lack of control, sometimes it can have upsides. What do you think? Do you like the unpredictability of life, or would you prefer that things always went the way you wanted them to go? That is day 19 of Meditations for Mortals, a 4-week guide to doing what counts by Oliver Burkeman. I look forward to seeing some comments, and I will see you tomorrow for day 20. I'm Lindsay Milner. Bye.